Village of Friendship Heights Council meeting of Monday, April 13th. We have all council members here right now, but Vice Chairman Klein may have to leave shortly. I'm going to ask everyone to speak their name clearly in the microphone, and also to, as the meeting goes on, to please wait to be called on before speaking. Would you like to start from the end?
Allison Alt.
Vic Basil.
Roy Schaefer.
Martha Solt.
John Conlon.
Thank you very much. Should we go ahead and start with Jim's comments, or availability to keep this moving along?
Yes.
And Jim Wilson is our project manager related to Page Park and the Red House projects. So can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
If you'd like to proceed with your report, we'd be happy to hear it.
Sure. So I'll start with the Red House. And we had initially thought we were going to finish right around the week of April 3rd, but it wasn't really until today, and probably in the next 2 days we'll get all of our final inspections. Primarily the result of the missing it by a week or so was some of the issues with the fire marshals, but we have received final inspections on the lift, on the electrical, fire protection, and I think the building final is scheduled for Wednesday. So we're all in good shape there. The only current outstanding item that is of significance is I don't know if you recall the last time we spoke, there was an issue of the paving and how the paving transitioned off of the back of the parking lot. And so we received a change order proposal for that work. And I have, I think that I'm not totally clear on the scope of what they're anticipating or expecting to do. So I'm not able to make a recommendation on that one as of yet, because the number was a good bit more, and it sounded like the scope was more than what I think we actually have to do. So the Managed Homes, the contractor, owes me, and he said he was doing it this evening, but he owes me some feedback on the response that I gave to his change order request. I don't know if, go ahead.
Can I ask a question about that? Does the paving in the back, and I believe I read something about a retaining wall needs to be built, does that in any way delay the actual Red House from being sort of turned over to the leaseor to begin doing their work?
I believe the answer to that is no, because it was really more of a discretionary kind of impact that we were going to do, but I think it would be something that you would still want to do. Mm-hmm. But Julian, I don't know if you know different than I do, but I don't think there's anybody from the code or the building department is going to hold us up because of that.
Right. It's a requirement of it's basically just a space requirement of the handicap parking space is such that it leaves very little room on the edge of the existing pavement. So the pavement has to be extended into this sort of grassy area, and then there's a drop-off caused by that. So you have to mitigate that. You don't want anybody tripping into that or a car driving over the edge. So that's what we're talking about. But it's not a code issue. It's not a compliance issue. It's just a fixing a problem, an inadvertent problem that's been raised issue.
Right.
That's
my understanding as well.
Other questions or comments from the council on the Red House? I see nothing. Do you want to go ahead with Page Park, please?
Sure. So Page Park, we're in the last steps of the permit processing, and I don't know if Julian, if the final document was signed for the access.
No, we're working on that now. It's just logistics of getting that signed and notarized, but that should happen in the next day or two, we think, yes.
Okay, all right. So that's the only kind of remaining submission in the permitting process. And if we get that, we are still looking at probably the second week of May of being able to start the work. We have, the contractor has been notified of award, and we have some of their documents they need to finalize, and all the signatures have to go on the contract. We need a copy of their payment and performance bond and their insurance certificates as well. But we will be ready to start when the permit arrives. So it looks like we're getting ready to start round about the second week of May. And the contractors felt to me it was a little bit aggressive. It is probably a 2-month period to complete the work.
And then would be final inspections, and then the park would be open. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Questions or comments about Page Park from the council? Councilmember Mueller.
I'm not sure if Jim or Julian has the answer to this, but the contract of the leasee, I think, has a 6-month rent-free. Does that begin when they start their construction or when they finish their construction?
It's a great question. I don't know. I haven't read the lease that carefully, but it's a good question.
We have to confirm that in the lease. I don't know the answer to that right now.
Right. It is a good question, but I think it's taking them longer than what they thought, because I don't think they've submitted for permits yet.
And they should have, right?
It took them a while to figure out a number of these details, but it would have been, I think, my inclination is when you turn the building over to them ready to use, that if they, we'll see what the contract says on it.
Okay.
But it's a good question.
Okay.
And Jim, my understanding is they have finished their special work, for instance, the flooring and other things that they wanted that was not within our purview. They wanted to upgrade things. That is done, and they have paid that. That was done on their check. And so the only thing that really remains is for them to do whatever they want or need to do for their kitchen. Is that correct, or is there anything else that they have to do in what sounds like 4 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, I don't think I'm not aware of anything else that we need to do on their behalf. So the rest of anything they would have would be their own discretionary upgrades. And yes, there were a few that we did for them that I believe, Julian, they gave you, did you receive the checks for those additional requests?
Yes.
Yes, and they have to, on their own, get any liquor license if that's what they're going to need. We're not involved in that, or are we?
Yeah, they need a beer and wine license from the county. That's on them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see.
I just
I'm
wanted
sorry,
to-
go ahead.
And I just am curious as to when we demoed the pergola, did that go underground, or are the footings still there?
Did you hear that, Jim?
No, I did not clearly.
She was
I'm
asking-
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. When the demolition removed the pergola, how far down did we go? Did we remove everything of the structure that was underground?
No, we just moved it to essentially right below the level of the pavers. Just they took some of the pavers out, and then they just removed it from there. There may be a little bit more that came out, but basically that was what they were obligated to do.
Thank you. I don't see anything else. Julie and Jason, do you have any questions or comments for him? So I think we move on to the regular order of our meeting that's in the agenda, which the first item is Chair's comments. And I do have a few, since it's been just about a year since this council was elected, and my main objective and my efforts have primarily been devoted to Page Park. I know it's a top priority for everyone sitting here. So in June of last year, I shared with the council and the public at a meeting the 3 interrelated problems that created what I call the Page Park mess that we inherited. The council in 2022 approved a park design that was not ADA compliant. In 2022, the village council approved and the mayor signed a contract with an unqualified contractor for over $850,000 without having our village attorney review it first. And of course, the $850,000 park was built first and had no permits from Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services. And as a result, the park was closed by them. So much of the delay in fixing the park did relate to challenges in receiving permits, much of which was in a prior council and on an ad hoc basis, and kind of what I call a delay in acknowledging that we really were legally obligated to have an ADA compliant park. In the last year, this is what we've done. We met with DPS to create a clear flow of communication, and they committed to priority review of our permit submissions. We hired a project manager, Jim Wilson, that you just heard on the phone, who is an engineer with experience working with DPS, and I believe he's been invaluable in helping us wade through what's required. Our Jason Goldstein created a webpage with all the relevant documents and updates, so anything you want to know should be there. We completed and received approval of a mandatory stormwater management plan. After receiving community input, we made a very difficult decision to remove the pergola because DPS would not approve a permit where the pergola was improperly attached as it was. And reinstalling the pergola was very expensive. We did solicit community input on that, and the majority of the public did want the pergola removed. So last week, we approved what we hope will be the last contract related to opening the park. And that addresses doing the stormwater mitigation work and implementing ADA requirements. So you will be seeing handrails and new walkways with lower slopes. And you might see machines that dig a little bit into the ground to get the sort of concave shape for the stormwater mitigation. So with the pergola removed, do we now need an artistic or architectural piece to serve as a focal point in the park? Many people have thrown out these ideas, and we addressed at least the timing of that at the last Parks and Grounds Committee. We agreed that we are open to considering that, but only after the park has received approval, past final inspections with DPS and is open for use. So yes, we will consider those, but not if it delays opening the park. So anyone interested in that kind of thing, start thinking about it. We'll be happy to hear your ideas at the correct time. So we also have an outstanding item of resolving differences with our original contractor, but that's sort of a behind-the-scenes type of thing. So have we learned any lessons from Page Park? I would say yes, and I'm bringing this up now because it relates in part to the last item on our agenda, which is adoption of an acquisitions policy. We are trying to implement some of the lessons we learned now rather than waiting for some final report on, what happened with Page Park. So some of the lessons, and these are provisions that are in at least the draft acquisitions policy that the council will be considering, is that it will be mandatory to obtain any permits necessary by Montgomery County's DPS before work commences, and to obtain a legal review of any substantial contract in order to ensure the village's interests are protected if something goes wrong. So those are provisions that are in a new draft acquisitions policy, and to my knowledge, the village hasn't had one before. And we are also learning that sometimes we need more technical knowledge or technical advice on the projects we have at hand. That's why we hired a project manager for Page Park. That's why we're using that skill for the Red House, and we intend, and I believe Julian has proceeded with this, to develop a continuing relationship so that we have someone sort of on call to ask technical questions or to advise us on areas sort of beyond our knowledge. So those are a few things we're doing to implement at least some of the lessons we learned about Page Park. And trust me, we will do everything we possibly can to move this project along. And I'm grateful to the council members here at the table. I know they all agree with me that this is a top priority, and we're moving it along. Thank you for listening to that. And I think we have comments, right, from the public?
Actually, we do not, it appears. We do not have anybody signed up to speak on the public hearing that we know of.
Okay, so nothing on the public hearing, anything on the non-public, the everything else?
Not for that either.
Oh, okay, no, thank.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilmember Miller.
I think after your announcements, we have public hearing on the tax rate, which is important.
That's what we were just referring to. We don't have anybody signed up to speak for the public hearing.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the general comment.
We don't have anybody signed up to speak for that either.
Okay, thank you.
Phyllis, are you going to sign up, or are you? No. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, okay. So I guess we move on. So we already got the update from our project manager on Page Park and the Red House. We have no general comment from the public to the council, so we move on to the village manager's report.
Just briefly on a couple of things. First of all, we've been working on our website to bring it into compliance with ADA requirements, and we can report that has been completed. We mentioned this at the previous Policies and Procedures Committee meeting, but we're happy to say that the website is now fully compliant in advance of the required timeframe by law where it has to be compliant. Secondly, we have arranged for a candidates forum for Montgomery County executive candidates to be held here at the Village Center on Tuesday, May 5th, 6:30 p.m. We have announced it. We will put out some more announcements and hope to have a good crowd for that. It will be live streamed as well. Tuesday, May 5th, Montgomery County Executive Candidates Forum, and we have a moderator, and we have the major candidates confirmed to participate in that. Also, on May 5th, the same day, we will have a ballot drop box put here once again for the county elections, and the drop box will be activated, I think, 2 or 3 days after that, and that will be the beginning of basically election season where people can drop off their ballots instead of voting in person, all the way up to the date of the primary, which is June 23rd, the primary for county executive and the county council races.
But not the Board of Education, those people, right?
Right.
Just the county council, okay.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor's announcements?
Okay, thank you. On Saturday, the center hosted Community Day. I want to express my gratitude to staff members for organizing another successful event. And we had a special presentation to Pauline Martin, who became village employee #1 when this center opened 40 years ago, and still works here as a front desk receptionist. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Last week, the Friendship Heights Alliance held their annual meeting. I attended along with Councilmember Solt, and we had a conversation with a representative of the Donahoe organization. They are the owner and developer of the site at 5500 Wisconsin next to the Marriott. They have received approval to build a 300-unit, 18-story building there, apartment rental building. That has been on hold. And what they told us is it continues to be on hold. They have no target date to start construction, so there was nothing else they can tell us. I wanted to pass that along, and if we get any further information, we'll share that. Okay, so this is the final council meeting of our first year. So I wanted to take the opportunity to recap what has been accomplished and outline our objectives for year two. I was going to start with Page Park, but Chairperson Solt discussed our progress on that, so thank you. I don't have to go there. I did want to point out, though, that much of the work and much of the delay, it hasn't just been a question of finishing up. We've had to, like the pergola, undo a lot of the work that was done and not done properly in order to move forward. And that's part of what, and obviously these steps have to be approved, and that's a major part of why it's taken this long. You heard from our project manager, the village portion of work at the Red House is substantially complete, and now the tenant, who, and we do have a signed lease, is going to begin their work. The other things that have happened this council term, we approved several contracts to address infrastructure issues throughout the village, including at the village center, that we'll be voting on that later tonight, and in Humphrey Park. We approved a traffic study, and the data collection phase has been completed. We adopted cash management procedures to align with the investment policy ratified at the end of the last council term. Our next budget will include a 5-year capital budget, increasing transparency around our finances. We formed 2 new citizen committees, the Shuttle Committee and Development Committee, bringing the total to 4 citizen committees with approximately 35 resident volunteers, and there may be a 5th one on the way. The Development Committee continues to advocate for the village's interests within our borders and at the Geico site. We have added programs for children, such as the Toys and Toddlers program, twice a week at the Village Center. Last week, we had a town hall with the Montgomery County Executive to discuss development matters affecting the village. We had support meetings for federal employees and contractors affected by actions taken at the federal level. A new landscape maintenance contract has been awarded to a new contractor. The council has adopted both a travel policy and an ethics policy, which applies to all staff and council members. We also adopted a non-discrimination policy and a social media policy. So what do we have planned for the year ahead? Page Park will open. We expect the Red House will also open as a new retail business in our community. We will issue the results of our traffic study and discuss how to achieve its recommendations. That will be done with community input. The open position of Assistant Program Director will be filled. The Development Committee will continue to meet regularly and connect with newly elected representatives to help build positive relationships. We'll continue to work on policies that need to be created or revised. Later this meeting, we are voting to approve an acquisitions policy. And 1 year from now, at the end of this council term, I will report the progress we made on these and other issues.
Thank you, Mayor. And now to the Treasurer's report.
Okay, thanks, Martha. For the year-to-date through March, we're pretty much on target. Revenues and expenditures for the year-to-date, the 9 months year-to-date, are both coming in within budget. We have an operating surplus of $364,000 year-to-date, which is also pretty good. Our capital expenditures are similar to our operating surplus, so basically what that means is that Our total reserves are 4.9 million, which is roughly what we started the year with. So even though our current budget is in pretty good shape, bigger picture, there's a few red flags going forward. Total revenues, mainly income and property taxes, are pretty much flat over the past 2 years. Next year, revenues are expected to decline by approximately 190,000, led by a drop in income taxes due to the government layoffs and shutdowns. At the same time, inflation is increasing, and the rate of increase is likely to get even worse because of the Middle East conflict and rising oil prices. So we're starting to wrestle with some economic uncertainty as we prepare our FY27 recommended budget. We have an upcoming finance meeting on Tuesday, April 21st, in which we expect to recommend the FY27 budget to be submitted for council approval in May. And I'll speak more to that later in the program under old business. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to committee reports, Advisory Committee on Development. Vice Chairman Klein, do you have something to say on this?
Yes, I just want to say that we continue to meet with candidates who are running for seats on Montgomery County Council. I think it's important to note that when the county executive was here, Mark Elrich, he emphasized the importance of education, persuading, and getting support from new members of the council, because the sector plan that makes changes to our, potential changes to our community will be going in front of the council. And with the council's support, we can mitigate those things that we do not think let our community thrive. So that's important. Another thing we've been doing is making sure that people know when, and the time is now, to provide comments on the plan. We sent out notices to people who have signed up for text messages, emails, and voicemail to let them know that there's a way for them to influence Parks and Planning with regard to our feelings about having more high-rise buildings within the village proper. So that's important as well. And we will be continuing to work with the community to ensure that they know more about what the Parks and Planning is considering and make their feelings known. We have other ways that we're considering for communicating with individual residents, too. So that's with regard to the sector plan. With regard to GEICO, we already have a developer, EYA. John Conlow and I were invited by McLean Quinn, who's the CEO, to take a tour of the GEICO property with him, and we did that last Friday on April 10th. We met with him for about 2 hours, and we sat in his car, and together we discussed the intersection at Willard and North Park. And I think there was a good deal of consensus on the fact that changes need to take into consideration the traffic flow there in order to mitigate the additional traffic that will occur because of the development on the GEICO property. We also talked about the trees, and he said, to be blunt, that the trees would be, the mature trees on the parking lot, the mature trees along Willard would be gone. Of course, we are not necessarily accepting that as a fait accompli, because I believe personally that some of the trees can be saved and should be saved. He does have a plan in mind for doing replanting, and he said that he was considering not just starting with saplings, but starting with trees that are bigger in size to increase the foliage that we see, and that's kept us protected. We're working with Brookdale on some of the issues relating to the development on Geico's site as well, because one of the things they have done is say that they don't intend to be bound by the 1998 plan. What exactly they don't want to do that's in the 98 plan, we're not sure of yet. We know that one thing is the parking, the Little League play park, the field for youngsters, and they don't want to do that. They have in mind doing something else. Our lawyer, Dave Brown, has put in a protest to Parks and Planning saying that for them to say it's illegal, the binding elements are illegal and they don't intend to follow them, is problematic. So that remains to be resolved. Having said that there are these disagreements, it still was a collegial discussion. And another issue we talked about was on Western Avenue. Would there in fact be a way off the property onto Western Avenue? Again, there's been discussion about that. There is a light now off the currently the Geico property that allows people to make a left or a right off the Geico property. It may be that we could have a way off the property where it only allowed a right turn off and a right turn in. I believe strongly that we need to distribute the traffic as much as possible and that we should be having an exit there. I also think for safety and security reasons, allowing emergency vehicles in from the southern part of the property is important. And they are consulting with fire and rescue experts on that point. But when you take it all together, there is an exit there now. The property is going to have hundreds of people living on it. And it makes sense that you just have an easy way to get out at the south side rather than having to go out on Willard and increasing traffic there so much, which is already a highly trafficked street and one of our main ways out of our village. The final thing I want to mention, and I'm taking a little longer to talk about this today than I have in the past, is the fact that I had suggested to the condominiums that they have, there are 4 in the village, that they have committees looking at these issues to give us advice, for them to meet with EYA themselves. And that's been happening, both at 4620, I know the Carlton is active, and also at Willoughby. At the Willoughby, they decided to form a committee, and a gentleman by the name of Jim Curtin is in charge of that. I spoke to him this weekend, and he told me that there might be differences of opinion within the committee, but that he was drafting their position, and that position was going to be given to their board for them to share with us. And one of the things he told me was that they also are very much in favor of having a way off the property onto Western, and that they are very much in favor of maintaining as many of the mature trees as they can find. And they're also not happy that the current plan is to go above the 98 plan in terms of the height of the multi-story residential buildings that are planned. In 98, it was supposed to be only 4 stories tall. Now they're wanting 7. So that's where we are. I think there's a lot more to address as we move forward, to resolve as we move forward, but the issues are still traffic, green space, adhering to the 98 plan, and doing the best we can, given a plan that was agreed to so many years ago and is now the one that's shaping the property.
Thank you. Either Julian or Francine, if there are residents that never received this alert or lost track of it and would like to make comments to, I guess it's the planning board, how would they find out how
Well,
to?
it is on our website.
Okay, so it's on our website. Could you explain, Julian, exactly where on the website? Sometimes you have to click a lot of levels, but,
It's, yeah, it's in several places, but there's a What's New page
okay.
that has a direct link to it.
Okay, so if you
And-
go to
and-
What's New, you'll find it easily, right?
And it's a planning board page that has a form to fill out, and it says, and you can view the recommendations, and you can submit your feedback through that link, which is on our website.
Yeah, I urge everyone to share what you think. Now's the time. And-
Along those lines, with regard to the sector plan, there's a rectangular box that says, provide feedback here. So that's where you go to insert your feedback. And it's about, I thought it was about 2/3 of the way down the page, the first page. So that's where you can put in what you think about the plan.
Right, and if you're still confused, I think if you call the Village Center, they'll help you find it. But it's really important for everyone to share what they think. I think we move on to, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank, and I'm sure everyone on our council wants to thank, the vice chair. Francine has done an enormous amount of work. She simplified it by summarizing it, but this has taken hours and hours of time, and I know we all appreciate that. I would, because of the fairly recent review by the council attorney, Dave Brown, with these very important apparent changes in the binding agreements, before too much time goes by, at the convenience of the chair, I would suggest that the full council have a chance to talk with our attorney and find out exactly what he thinks the options are and what the dangers are, the pros and cons of whatever it is they're doing, what the specific changes are, and what it would take to try to stop that, and how much it would cost to do that. I think that's important as well. Attorneys don't come cheap, and it's an estimate of how much time they have to spend. But this has been very helpful, getting this initial information, and I would hope the council can meet with him. I don't think the council as a whole has ever met with our attorney. Am I correct? Have you all met Dave Brown?
One of our attorneys, our village attorney, they've met. This is for a special purpose.
No,
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
For
Yeah.
the very important attorney that's doing the
Yes.
very important work. So anyway, that is my suggestion, that the chair of the committee, Francine Klein, find a convenient time that we can meet with Dave Brown and find out where he might suggest we go going forward.
Yes, well, I'm an attorney as well, so I'm in a position to evaluate his work to some extent. I think it's exceptional. He is a superb expert in property law. He's taught me a great deal. I look over whatever he submits. And really, given the time frame that we're facing, where the Development Review Committee is set for April 21st, and that's one of the key milestones for the development of the Geico property, because that's, although it's open to the public, we don't comment at that meeting. We can comment before, we can comment after. It was quite a surprise to find that there were questions about the legality of the binding elements. And when you see something like that, you have to challenge it because not only were these binding elements accepted by the county council that was in office in October of 1998, throughout the years when Geico chose to ask for extensions of their plan, those binding elements were reaffirmed. And in 2025, when the Parks and Planning Board decided to let them go through with developing quite an old plan, the board specifically said that they were still bound by the elements in 1998. So it's pretty simple to say that you can't just, at this late stage, say that you don't want to be bound and you think they're illegal. And it's really up to them to explain to us what it is that they don't want to do. And in fact, that was one of the things that I asked McLean Quinn to help us with, because I think he might have been a little bit surprised as well that they had used the term illegal. We are relying on those binding elements, and we need to ensure that they go forward. And the board themselves should be concerned. So the first thing that I imagine would happen is that the board will be addressing it with the applicant for development to ask what they mean by that, because it's just not something you can decide on your own that you don't intend to follow, and then use illegal doesn't make much sense. So I think it's incumbent upon them. And as for the cost of the lawyer, he is one of the most efficient, quick, and was very small, I apologize, was very, I don't want to say inexpensive, because nobody thinks $20,000 is inexpensive, but for the amount of work that he's done and the sorts of legal fees that you have, that I thought was an inexpensive bill, given the amount of advice that he's given us over the past year. So thanks very much.
Yeah, could you just quickly say what is meant by binding element for people who don't know
Binding
what the term
elements
is?
are the things that make sure that they're going to keep the boundary between Brookdale, the trees that have grown up between Brookdale, that they're going to be developing the park the way it was promised to give to the county, the functions of dealing with the green space, dealing with the traffic. There's certain binding elements in the original plan that we need to make sure they follow through. And you have to ask yourself, if they don't want to follow through with something that was a binding element, why aren't, for instance, the park, where they've decided on their own, that's the perfect example, thanks for reminding me, they've decided on their own that they don't want to have a field, a ball field, on the western end of the property. Now, if we're all sitting here today, that was the agreement that was in '98, and they now want it to be a splash park, which is a fine idea, but it's not what was agreed to in '98, and there seems to be less green space now than we were promised as well. But it requires a discussion.
Thank you. And in my, I guess, effort to move the meeting along, I failed to acknowledge my gratitude for all your efforts on the Development Committee, and I agree with Councilmember Mueller that you've gone above and beyond, and I think we can all agree we're grateful
Well,
to
I
that.
appreciate that, but you know, there are a lot of people who are working with me. We have a really great development committee. They've been dedicated to showing up for every meeting, and I think that's fabulous. Al has been great on the committee, and John has been great on the committee. I've also gotten assistance from Art Perry, who comes to the meetings frequently, and he is a municipal city planner by training, and very familiar with the Geico property, and he's been giving me advice as well. So it's a lot more than just me, the folks who've been involved in this, and everyone understands that these decisions, and it's unusual to have two such big projects, the Geico development and the sector plan, coinciding, that it's just a lot of change coming to the area. And frankly, one of the things that bothers me is what Roy mentioned, our mayor mentioned a little earlier, which is that we don't see the development occurring even when it's been planned for at the corner of South Park and Wisconsin Avenue. And that suggests that we could find ourselves in a situation in which we're not getting what we need in the way of things that will actually be occupied and help us develop. Right now, when you have storefronts that are empty, and you had stores there that were open, doing business, and years go by and nothing is there, it's worrisome to me that we could have that same situation elsewhere in the general area. So that's what I think about.
Thank you. Moving on, Policies and Procedures Committee. Vic?
Thank you. There have been 2 meetings of the Policies and Procedures Committee since the last council meeting, one on March 13th and the other on March 27th. At both meetings, there was discussion over several new policy initiatives, including contracts and acquisitions, parking enforcement, and personnel. At the March 27th meeting, we voted to recommend a contracts and acquisition policy to the Village Council for final approval. The committee will soon survey residents about implementing a pay system for street parking in the village using Park Mobile. Before recommending any action on this idea, the committee believes it is important to get residents' views. To this end, the survey is scheduled to go out to residents in the beginning of May. The committee is exploring terminating the current parking enforcement contract in favor of engaging the county enforcement contractor. And finally, also, the committee is beginning the process of updating the village personnel policies, and staff is taking the lead on this endeavor and will report back to the committee soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Committee of March 17th. John?
Yeah. Thanks, Martha. The Finance Committee met on March 17th to review the preliminary recommended budget for fiscal year 2027. The preliminary recommendation is subject to further review and approval at the next Finance Committee later this month on April 21st. We're dealing with a couple of issues here. We don't yet have final personnel recommendations from Policies and Procedures. However, we are working together to try to better coordinate our efforts going forward. And as I noted earlier, revenues are expected to decline next year while inflation may continue to rise. So the bottom line is our budget next year is going to be tight, but I'm confident that we can make it work and finalize a budget recommendation when we meet on the 21st. At the meeting, we will again be slogging through the details of our proposed budget to try to bring revenues and expenditures into balance and to recommend a capital budget and 5-year plan. The preliminary recommended budget includes completing Page Park, implementing a pedestrian safety project, and making other improvements to the village centers and parks. Over the next couple of years, we're also looking at undertaking a street resurfacing program. In fiscal 28 and beyond, our hope is the economy rebounds, revenue from income and property taxes increase, inflation moderates and we can continue to adhere to our current tax rates. But I'll talk more about that under new business. Thank you.
Thank you. For Parks and Grounds Committee on March 27th, I already mentioned basically that we finished approving recommendations of a contract to finish the last work on Page Park, and that we made a formal decision to be open to the possibility of an artistic or architectural addition to Page Park once it's open. So that's what we did at our meeting. We have no old business. The first new business goes back to the treasurer. Discussion vote on village property tax rate for fiscal year 2027.
Thanks, Martha. Our current municipal tax rate is 4 cents per $100 of assessed value. That's among the lowest in Montgomery County. Our total property tax rate in Friendship Village, including county property taxes, is 73.2 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. So the municipal share of total property taxes here in the village is really only about 5.25% of your total property tax bill. As noted previously, the economy is showing signs of slowing. Inflation is rising. Our budget is getting tighter. So there is a possibility that we will have to raise the property tax at some point in the next couple of years, but now is not the time, nor is next year. We fully expect to meet our budget requirement in FY27 at current rates, and we remain cautiously optimistic that going forward our economy will rebound in FY28. So having said that, I want to put forward a motion to recommend approval for fiscal year 2027 of the Village of Friendship Heights real and personal property tax rates of 4 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Sorry. Sorry.
I'm just getting my notes here. Now we have discussion since we have a motion and a second. Are there comments or questions? Councilmember Mueller.
The only thing that I would add is that by state law, the lowest tax rate we can allow is 4 cents per 100, and the highest is 20 cents per 100. That's a state law, because we are often asked, well, when you're doing so well, why can't you reduce it? By state law, we cannot.
Is it the state law or the charter? I'm sorry.
I'm calling on you now.
Yes, the mayor is correct. It's the state law, it's the state's approval of the charter. The charter is from the state.
Right, but is
So
that a
both- minimum?
like, in theory, could we change the charter to lower that rate?
Yes,
Yes,
but
okay.
we would have to go through the state.
Sure.
I fully support the motion. I'm just curious, and you may have noticed this too, that this was the cycle where the property tax assessments in the village went up for condo owners. Do you anticipate that affecting, getting more revenue than maybe last year for the real property from residences?
Just for the record, I don't think the increase in property taxes was uniform across all of the village.
You mean the assessment
The
increase?
assessment, I'm sorry,
Okay.
the assessment.
Okay.
The assessment for our condominium actually went down, which is
okay.
kind of interesting. So I don't think we know at this point what the effect of the reassessment it will be.
Well, wasn't it dependent on how many bedrooms you had? That's what I was told.
It's not that simple, but, Councilmember Mueller?
Each property owner was assessed separately, and they were somehow connected, and they presently are undergoing appeal. There are 2 appeals. I've appealed mine, for instance. Another person has indicated it was a minimal increase and did not appeal. So everyone gets a different rate, up or down, and can then appeal it. So we won't know until 2 appeals are over, and how many people appeal and how many just pay it. It's hard to say.
And I think you're speaking only of your building, right? Of the people you
Yes.
know appealing?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I sort of withdraw that question because misunderstood the premise there. So any other questions or comments before I call for the vote on this? I don't hear anything. So all in favor of approving for fiscal year 2027 for the Village of Friendship Heights, a real and personal property tax rate of 4 cents per $100 of assessed value, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And I think we have it unanimously, Secretary, so the motion passes. Thank you. We're moving on to the second item, which relates to a repair of essentially a leak in the village center, and I'll pass the floor to our village manager to explain more.
Yes, this is bids that we've received for the plaza waterproofing, and I'd like to introduce our engineer, Jillian Lugos from TDL. And Jillian, if you want to come up, and she will take the lead on describing the project and the bids and the evaluation and the recommendation.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. So the premise of this project is we have a subgrade garage that is over top of the plaza in this, well, the plaza's outside in this building. The waterproofing membrane underneath the plaza deck, which is brick pavers, has reached the end of its useful life, so we've seen leaks inside the garage. We spec'd the project. General scope of the project is to remove the existing brick pavers, existing waterproofing, reinstall new hot rubberized asphalt waterproofing, and Hanover pavers on pedestals. And then we have some other things to be accomplished during the project, like recoating of the perimeter walls, a small section of waterproofing at the front elevation of the building, and then repainting disturbed areas in the garage. We solicited bids. We invited 3 contractors, TDL invited 3 contractors, and then we had it open on the portal. So we ended up receiving 11 bids. We had far more people attend the pre-bid meeting, but 11 bids is a lot in our experience. So of the contractors that we know, I believe there were 2 or 3 contractors that TDL has not worked with in the past. So we can't speak to the quality of their workmanship or anything like that. I believe 2 of them had the 2 lowest bids, and the lowest bidder of the group that we worked with was I believe it was $117,000 without a bid option. We included, so there's the base bid, and then we included an option for nicer pavers. It's really just a different finish, and the cost differential is a drop in the bucket for the entire project. So that option will need to be determined if you want to go with that or just regular pavers, and then which contractor you would like to go with. I believe Simpson Unlimited was the low bidder of the bidders that we know. So we recommend them purely because they are the lowest that we know, and we can't speak to the bidders that we don't know. We can't speak to the quality of their workmanship. So, any questions?
Yes, what's the expected life of this new sort of rubberized membrane?
About 30 years.
Other questions or comments? Councilmember Mueller?
Thank you. Presently, the plaza, which is in the back, is covered throughout with bricks. And as far as I know, there's never been a problem with the bricks. The bricks, I don't think, have ever needed to be replaced or had any accidents. Why are we choosing between to choices that are not bricks? Because they're obviously, I think, 40 years old.
Good question. So the bricks currently sit on a sand setting bed, which is on top of a concrete topping slab, which then has the hot rubber, well, I assume it was hot rubberized asphalt when it was installed, membrane underneath. So when you have to reinstall, when it comes time that it's reached the end of its useful life and you have to reinstall this waterproof membrane, you have to take out all of the brick pavers and the concrete topping slab on top of the waterproofing, which is expensive and loud because you're taking out 3 to 6 inches of concrete that's there. It is an older detail to use that concrete topping slab. So when we go back, we specifically spec'd Hanover pavers on pedestals. So they sit on little feet with the pavers on top. So in 30 years, when you have to replace that membrane again, you simply have to take the pavers up, put them elsewhere, and you can put them right back instead of demoing a concrete topping slab, which is there now.
And that shouldn't happen for another 30 years?
I hope not.
Oh, good. Well, I won't be here. Thank you.
And anyone who lives in the Carlton understands exactly what you're saying, because we have a big project doing exactly what you're saying. And we had leaks in our garage, it's the same type of thing. Any other questions or comments?
But you would feel that we got good use out of it if so far it lasted 40 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you. So I think you said this, I just want to make it clear that you're not only recommending them because they're the lowest bidder, you're also familiar with the company and their work.
Yes,
Okay.
so I believe it was the 2 lowest bidders, actually,
Right.
we are not familiar with. So of the ones that were the lowest, that was Simpson Unlimited.
Okay, and I wanted to ask, since we're going to be ripping stuff up, is there any other preventative type of work or that we can do so, like 5 years ago, we forgot to do something, we don't have to go back and do it again?
The only thing that may or may not reveal itself would be concrete repairs on the structural deck. Concrete spalling occurs when water gets into concrete. It attacks the reinforcing steel, steel corrodes, and that will cause concrete to pop off of the rebar inside. We will not know if there are concrete repairs to be done until we rip everything up. So that would be the time to do those
Okay.
repairs.
Which leads me very well to my next question. How, are you going to be supervising the work, or is that part of the arrangement, or?
We haven't submitted a construction admin proposal yet, but we will do that. We would love to provide
Okay.
construction admin for that.
Because I assume you would obviously recommend that we,
Yes.
we have, okay. Permits, is that required?
Yes.
And whose responsibility is that, the contractors or the village?
Contractor has to file for, I think it's a regular building permit through Montgomery County DPS.
Correct. We would do the permit drawings, give it to them. They submit it, handle all of the feedback. We'll make changes as needed.
Okay, and last question, are you going to recommend like an O&M plan to going, operations?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm trying to think.
Operations.
We will give you recommended maintenance manuals for, let's say, the pavers that we put down, or the coating that we recoat the walls with. But as far as the membrane, there really is no preventative maintenance, keeping your drains clean, things like that. But we'll provide
Okay.
all of that guidance.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Mueller?
A question about the pavers. We have a choice between 2. How stable are they? If something is dropped on them, do they easily crack? If either one cracks, can they just replace them, just pull them up the way you said? But how fragile are they? Is one more fragile than the other?
No, one is not more fragile than the other, but I do not have their compressive strength off the top of my head. I can look them up, but they're very sturdy pavers. No, we don't have them out here, but I guarantee that you've seen Hanover pavers somewhere else. But as for what we specified in the base bid and the option, there's no difference in strength or durability.
And we do have to give them more choice.
Thank you. Does anyone besides me on the Parks and Grounds Committee want to make a motion here? Or do you want me to do it, or? I can just go ahead. So I move to adopt the proposal from Simpson Unlimited, received to perform the waterproofing work in the Village Center Plaza for $124,493 for the slate face finish, as recommended by our consulting engineers, Thomas Dewey Limited. Is there a second? Okay, Vic is seconding it. Do we have any more discussion on this? Thank you. I think we're done with your services. You've been very helpful in answering questions. Oh, I'm sorry, one more question.
I'm sorry, one more question. How long will this work take?
I forgot, I knew that I was going to get asked this question. I forgot to look at the duration. Do you have it up, Julian? If not, it's on my laptop.
Approximately?
10 weeks,
Okay,
8 to 10.
that's fine, thank you.
But they do have a specified duration that they submitted with their bid.
The Simpsons' estimated time is 4 weeks,
4 weeks.
but it does need permit approval, which is a variable.
Yes, 4
As-
weeks
as we know.
4 weeks is mobilization to demobilization, not permit issuance.
I see a member of the public here has a question. I don't mind if you'd like to go ahead.
What will the auditory impact be on the residents next door where the old people are?
During work hours?
During work hours, there will be 100 decibels. More will there be any protection for like a baffle or something?
That's a good question. It will be very noisy. And neighbors should be made aware of that. Luckily, demolition is over relatively quick. And we'll also address this when we do a pre-construction meeting with Simpson. But they will put up dust mitigation measures, things like that. They're going to clean up at the end of the day. As far as noise, there is unfortunately not a lot they can do, and it will be very noisy, but it will only be during work hours, and that is strictly the demolition part, and then that portion will be over, so it won't be noise that heavy for 4 weeks straight.
I understand that you can't prevent the creation of the noise because that's what it takes to remove what you need to remove, but is there any way the noise can be blocked from that one particular building? Is there any kind of sound mitigation that can be done?
They might be able to put something up. Yeah, because it's in between two buildings, so let me look into that. I'm sure that can be something.
Okay, could you please follow up with the village manager as soon as you have that information?
Yes.
And would we modify the contract for that?
I was going to say, that's not in the spec. Is
I
that going to
know.
be a change order if we're putting up some type of sound wall or something? I'm not even sure how that would work because it's
Right.
it's an open courtyard.
Right.
Also, the village center itself is going to hear the noise, even more than Brighton Gardens because it's literally attached to our building. It's right next to all the rooms here in our offices.
I
So
understand that, but I'm thinking of
I don't know how
special,
to mitigate that either.
I'm considering special consideration for the people in Brighton Gardens because,
So this would have to be a change order. It's certainly not in the contract to provide some extra materials. I doubt they would do it for free.
Correct.
okay, could you first figure out whether it's possible?
Yes.
If it's not possible, then kind of we're done. But, will you report back to the village council, Julian, on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
One other thing you should be aware, unlike the rest of the county, our workday starts at 8, not at 7. That is important.
Got it. Most of the contractors and ourselves, 90% of our clients are condominiums, and they usually start at 9, so starting at 8 will be a treat.
Well, you
Okay.
can start at 9 also.
I think we're ready for a vote. Do you want me to repeat the motion, or is it pretty clear we're adopting?
As long as
this
it's clear to the
proposal.
secretary.
Do you have? Yeah. Okay. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. And it looks like it's unanimous, but we have to keep in mind that one of our council members has left, so 6-0. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been very helpful, and hope to learn more about this sound mitigation possibility.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. I believe we're on our last agenda item, which is discussion vote on acquisitions policy recommended by the Policies and Procedures Committee. Is there a motion on this so we can begin discussion?
So I move to adopt the contracts and acquisition policy as recommended by the Policies and Procedure Committee.
I'll second that. Is there discussion, comments, questions? I'll use my prerogative to go first. I'm strongly in favor of this. I think it, as I mentioned earlier, helps prevent some of the mistakes that were made with Page Park, and also gives guidance and order and consistency for things like ensuring insurance and proper consideration of bids and so forth. And I think it will help the village going forward. Any other, Mayor?
Yeah, just a few quick questions. On page 1, it says under 3.1.2, coordinate competitive bidding and RFP processes. Do we have an RFP process?
Five, in section 5.
Oh, I thought it was referring to it's referring within itself. Okay.
Well, no, where you're looking right there is roles and responsibilities.
Got
Who
it.
does what?
Okay.
And then the what is later
Got
in the
it.
policy.
Okay, and then the other, under 3.2, it says approved purchases exceeding 20,000. That's over the contract term, right? That's not annually.
Yes.
Okay, so if we could just add over the contract term.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, unless the secretary would want to amend his motion to include
Do you
that.
accept that amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
And who
Thank you.
seconded it?
No
Did
one-
you second it? No one seconded
Well,
it?
he's amending his,
The person who seconds it has to agree with the amendment, or we have to, right?
I'll second it.
I don't know.
Okay, we can proceed. Over the contract term is added to the first bullet under 3.2.
And
Anything else?
just one other, and did we want to add a requirement for a site visit?
I oppose that, but I think it's
Or over,
burdensome.
or over a certain dollar amount?
Depends what I think that's the kind of thing it's the nature of the project, and it's something that our village staff will know whether is a good idea or not a good idea. And this doesn't limit what we're putting in, like RFPs and so forth. If a site visit is deemed necessary, they can certainly require it.
Okay.
That's your understanding, right, Vic?
Yes.
Are we ready for a vote? All in favor of adopting the acquisitions policy, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. It's unanimous of the 6 people here. Thank you very much. I think this is the end, isn't it?
Unless you want to stay.
Yeah, unless we just want to chat, but I think I don't need a full motion, but we can adjourn right now. And it is 7:47? Is that what you have? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for everyone listening online and coming in person, and thank you, Julian and Jason, and fellow council members.